News, what do you think about Fox? Nothing? What do you think about CNN?
I think nothing about anything.
You think nothing about anything. I guess that's why you're out here protesting Trump.
Right. What do you like about Trump? Seriously?
I like his policies. I like cutting taxes. I like looking into 9/11.
Are you a billionaire?
Am I a billionaire? No.
So why are you for cutting taxes?
Because you cut taxes, I get more money.
How did white supremacy cause Trump to win? Because with respect, I don't think the numbers suggest that's true, but I'd like to hear your version.
Right, well, I don't argue that white supremacy alone caused Trump to win, but I say that's a huge factor in his victory. For the same reason that 44 out of the 45 presidents of the United States have been white men. That's not a coincidence. That's a pretty startling fact. Right? So it's not just white supremacy, but it's gender dynamics, it's heteronormativity, it's capitalism, it's lots of these things that have led to that type of dominance.
Is it a little strange? Okay, I think I'm familiar with your argument then. I just want to make sure I was. Mitt Romney got more white support than Donald Trump got. Is he a white supremacist? That doesn't really fit into your theory, does it? Why would Mitt Romney, who is less, I'm sure from your perspective, less racially inflammatory than Donald Trump, get more white support than Trump did?
Well, for me, it's not about Mitt Romney or Donald Trump or any one particular person. Again, when you asked me for my definition, I said it was a social and political and economic system. It's not about one particular person. Now, different politicians can appeal to various racialized arguments, as I think Trump has done at times, as Mitt Romney has done at times, and some Democrats have done at times. It's a palpable device, and it works large part of the time to propel people into political positions of power.
So we've had, here's the main problem with your theory is from what I can tell. So for the last 50 years, the country's been totally transformed by immigration since the 65 Immigration Act. And we've admitted about 60 million immigrants into this country legally in 50 years. That's an awful lot in a country of 325 million or whatever it is. It's a lot of people. Totally changed the demographic balance of the country. Only 12% of them came from Europe. Why would a country based on and committed to the perpetuation of white supremacy let in 60 million people, only 12% of whom are from Europe? Seems a little weird, no?
No, not weird at all. I mean, your point makes sense if you don't think about it. What instead is happening today is the same as forced immigration from slavery. We brought in lots of slaves to the United States that outpaced a lot of European immigrants under white supremacy. I mean, the demographics, the majority-minority demographics that you're referencing don't have anything to do with power dynamics, and that's what I'm discussing.
No, but I get, right. If you're discussing power dynamics, I mean, I guess the obvious difference between slavery and our current immigration regimen is this is voluntary, that wasn't. We have non-white peoples clamoring to get in to America. If you were to say everyone who is a passport holder on the continent of Africa can come here, what percentage do you think would? Which would be a little strange if it was really a white supremacist country, that they would want to come here or that we'd allow them. Like,
well, immigration has ebbed and flowed, and you used the word clamoring. So that hasn't actually been the case in many years, and immigration has rose and fallen and so forth. Take immigration from Mexico, which is often a hot-button political topic. That's actually fallen over recent years. So
no, actually,
to say that people are clamoring to come in is just not true, and it's just empirically not verifiable.
Wrong. No, actually, our immigration levels are set by the federal government, by the Congress, and they've remained the same. So I'm just saying that it doesn't ebb and flow, actually. Illegal immigration may ebb and flow, but legal immigration doesn't. And it's overwhelmingly non-white. So why, again, would a white supremacist country allow that to happen? I mean, in 1965, 84% of the country was white. 2015, 62%. That's a massive change in 50 years. Why would white supremacists allow that to happen?
Well, white supremacists need the help now, don't they? They need people to do the work that they don't want to do themselves. Just as I referenced slavery, just as I referenced, any historical period such as Jim Crow or the Black Codes, or any nation for that sake that has a dominant racial ethnic group, you're going to have a racial underclass. Having a large racial underclass in no way undermines the fact that there is a racial underclass. That's just absurd.
But it's a democracy in which the majority chooses the government and the way of life. And so we know as a demographic matter that it's going to be a majority non-white country soon. That was a decision made by white people because it's a majority white country. And they're voluntarily allowing the country to become non-white. And no one's yelling about it or whatever. I mean, you can, whatever you think of that, that's not the behavior of a white supremacist country.
No human is being illegal. Hey, can I go to Mexico and vote in the Mexican election?
Are you a human being?
can I vote for the Mexican president?
Do you have value as a human being?
Of course,
Yes,
everyone
I do.
does.
Do you have, how do you exercise that power?
I'm out here talking to you right now.
Wonderful, and I'm
So can I
recognizing
vote for the Mexican president?
how does that relate to this thing?
Because your sign is insinuating that immigrants coming here illegally is a humanitarian issue. Am I right? Is that what your sign is saying? So I'm asking you, can I walk to Mexico and vote for the Mexican president?
I don't think that question.
Yeah, that doesn't apply to something.
Well, you've got people coming to America that aren't American citizens that are getting welfare money and they're voting in our election. No, I was born here. I'm a
People
citizen.
who stole this country.
Stole this country.
Yeah.
You don't even know about my family.
You have no evidence of that.
Jesus would control the border.
You
Everybody who
I'm
lives
a
here
clown.
now is living
How am I a
here
clown?
Did you think that illegals voted that election?
Okay, well, they
There's
did.
no evidence.
What about...
No, the people who say that 9/11 was an inside job now say that illegals voted that election. That's the only evidence you have. That makes you.
So even though there's been
No evidence.
hold on. So even though there's been legislation passed in certain cities to get illegals to vote, it doesn't exist.
Oh, you're making that up. You're an idiot.
I'm making that up.
You're
All
dumb.
right.
Let's talk about
Thank
this.
you. Okay, go ahead.
The human rights issue is
Sure.
about, if you're talking about building a wall, if you're talking about sending armed, more security forces, militarizing the border, in a context where human beings are coming across the border for economic reasons. We're not talking about people
I hear what
really
you're saying.
desiring to come here and
Well,
vote.
to be honest with you,
It's about economics. It's about people.
I agree. And personally, personally,
So
I'm not
we
really a big
militarize
fan
the
of the
border,
wall.
And it's, the
I
rhetoric
agree.
is we
I
have
But-
every right to shoot people.
But don't you think that there needs to be? But don't you think there needs to be law and order though? No, that's not true.
The rhetoric
No,
is
that's
you
not the
don't have
rhetoric.
power as a
No,
human being, you have power as a citizen.
But hold on,
And
if you're a citizen,
we're losing that because we are saying essentially you don't even have the power.
let me counterpoint real quick. Let me counterpoint. Are you an American
So
citizen?
vote with your dollars.
Are you an
because
American
you
citizen?
Don't actually have.
Are you an American citizen?
Depending on who recognizes your status.
Are you an
who
American
recognizes
citizen?
you
Are
as
you American citizen?
Documented or undocumented.
Are you an American citizen?
When all of your
Why
rights
can't there's
have
no
been-
such thing.
Yeah.
So you're not an American
When all
citizen?
of
Don't you understand though? You're an American citizen, you pay taxes, and you vote in the election, right? When you have people that come here that aren't citizens, they're taking your tax dollars and they're demeaning your vote by voting in the election. Don't you understand how that demeans your vote?
No, I don't think it demeans that vote, and I don't think that's.
So if you vote,
Because-
let's say that
No,
you
that's
vote
not
for
the
Hillary
issue.
Clinton
It's
and
not
10
The
Mexicans
issue
vote
is
for
not
Donald
about-
Trump. Does that not demean
You're
your
not,
vote?
when you're talking about votes, you're not talking about human dignity and human value.
But that's a human right.
Is
In a
voting
republic,
human right?
in a democratic
America, yeah.
republic, yeah. Absolutely.
When people are talking about
You don't think it's a right?
the militarization of the
You
border,
realize that
Part
in
of our
some countries you
Constitution
can't
is the right
vote.
to vote. That's part of our.
militarization of the border is not about voting.
I'll agree with that.
Right.
No, I'll
That's
agree with
the
that. No, I'll
And
agree with
it's
that.
about economics. And if you don't recognize that human lives are being lost, that certain lives are
Okay,
being
what about the human lives
we're
that are
saying
lost by
certain-
people that cross the border illegally and then murder Americans?
Free speech goes on, so it turns out that your administrators are a bunch of hacks. Pathetic crybaby wusses who only care about the melting snowflakes, who didn't even have balls to show up, by the way. They got 35 people, 35 security people for little old me. No, not even any protesters, just for me, because of my jujitsu skills and my massive 5'9", 165 Jewish frame. Okay, so I want to start. I come bearing gifts, particularly for the social justice warriors. So I keep hearing that you fellas, that you party people, that you want to, you're wearing around these safety pins. So I brought a whole pack of safety pins just for you. And then to accompany those, I brought the diapers you ought to be wearing. So you can pin that up. You self-indulgent, pathetic children who can't handle anybody who has an opposing point of view. Yeah, you're real strong. You're real tough. So strong and so tough, you have to stand behind the security and the police officers that you're bashing every single day. Damn! I promise you, in the privacy of their own homes, every member of that security team and every member of the police force is in agreement with me, not the people who they're protecting from my supposed free speech threat.
So white officer Alan Harupcho shot and killed the black Somali stabbing suspect in Ohio and is being paraded as a hero. That's interesting. Well, Tariq joins us now to explain. Tariq, thanks a lot for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Tucker.
Oh, of course. This struck me when I read it as a pretty cowardly thing for you to say for a bunch of reasons, but mostly because it's so imprecise. Okay. You don't spell out what you mean. You say that that's interesting. Why is that interesting? Would it have been better if this guy, the murderer, had continued to hack people with a butcher knife? Is that what you're saying? What are you saying?
No, I'm saying, Tucker, what's cowardly is to make up a false narrative that I didn't say or even imply by saying that I was not impressed or I was dissatisfied with the police's work. And basically, that tweet was very vague. It was very neutral. It was basically a statement. It wasn't even my opinion. So for you to start off the segment saying that it was cowardly, that's disingenuous.
Look, I'm having you on, Tariq, to explain yourself, and I'm asking you, what did you mean by that? Is the guy,
and I'll be glad to do that.
Who shot this guy a hero, or isn't he?
I'll be glad to answer that, but I don't want to do the false narrative thing because that's just very disingenuous, and I like to bring truth to power.
The question.
Now, let me explain what I meant. Yeah. Okay. No, I didn't think that the guy was wrong for what he did. The guy was a hero. The comment wasn't meant to racialize the actual shooting and the event itself. When that happened, online, there were a lot of people who played the race card, and the minute they found out who the suspect was, they kept talking about black Somalian, then they started talking about Black Lives Matter, then they started talking about Obama, then they racialized it. So, that's normal.
I'm sorry, there's only so much I can take. I spent all afternoon listening to your podcast, which is the most racialized thing I think I've ever listened to in my life. And not
which
that
is not true. Which is not true.
Let me say this. You sent a series of tweets here noting the race and the nationality of the terrorist, and you also put quotes around the word terrorist. If you drive your car through a crowd of people and murder someone with a knife, are you not a terrorist? Why did you put quotes around?
I didn't say that the man. I didn't say that the man wasn't a terrorist. Tucker, are you going to say anything honest before we get the interview started, or it's just going to be a bunch of projections
I'm asking you what you meant. Why did you put
suspected white supremacist views
around the word terrorist? Okay.
Because I didn't know if the guy was a terrorist or not. I didn't know if he was a suspect. I didn't know if that was the only suspect. So I didn't have all the facts. I wanted to wait for all the facts to come in.
You have trouble drawing simple conclusions.
Which is what you should do.
Okay. If someone drives his car through a crowd of people, here's what we knew from the first moment this happened. A guy drove his car through a crowd of people, intentionally hitting them, and then he attacked one of them with a knife. What else do you need to know in order to conclude that man is committing an act of terrorism? What's the missing piece there for you?
We didn't get all the facts initially because initially they said that there were other suspects. So I didn't have all the facts in. So I wasn't in the position to label anybody or bring my opinion to the table. I wanted to wait to see what all the facts were before I labeled people. And that's what you should do, Tucker.
No, you didn't. What you were trying to do is incite race hatred, which is what you do for a living, making this about race from the very start, when in fact race played no role. Now, you make the claim repeatedly in your writings and on your show, this is a, quote, white supremacist country. The guy who did this was imported here at taxpayer expense from Somalia. He was living, I believe, entirely on taxpayer expense. It was government-subsidized education at Ohio State. Why would a white supremacist country import Africans in large numbers and then pay for them to live here? I don't understand. It doesn't speak in narratives. It doesn't really fit your narrative, does it?
So we don't live in a system of complete white supremacy? Everybody's lying, Tucker?
Huh. So the overwhelming majority of immigrants to this country are non-white. Why would a white supremacist country import massive numbers of non-white immigrants? Not to blow your mind,
when you say non-white, I mean, there's Hispanic people who you say are non-white, but they're labeled as white. There are a lot of people who are classified as white that you say are non-white. So you play this racialized game. So who's non-white and who's white?
Okay. Look, I guess the point I'm making is that it's not 1955. It's a totally different country from the one you seem to be addressing on Twitter and in your podcast. Then answer this.
How's it different, sir?
In your tweet, it's different in this way. It is an entirely multi-ethnic country. It's not just black people and white people, one oppressing the other. It's a much more complicated landscape, as you may have noticed if you go outside. And so when you tweet out that this is a story of a white man killing a black man, that is misleading. That's not at all what happened. There was no racial motive that we know of here, and you're implying there was.
I didn't say there was a racial motive.
Your financial. Well, of course you did. You said that white officers shot a black Somali suspect.
Tucker, This is Fox News. You guys are the race casino. Forget about the race card. You play the race casino. Right. So it's very hypocritical for me to specify the race of a suspect and a police officer, and that is supposed to be some kind of problem when you guys do it all the time and arbitrarily blame black people for everything negative in this country.
Here, I'm not even going to rise to the debate. Let me just say that I think when normal people, and I'm excluding you from that category, watched what happened yesterday, they didn't see the race of the terrorist or the race of the cop. They saw an American stopping a lunatic from murdering more people on a college campus.
So why did your white supremacist colleagues make it racial? So why did they make it racial? Why did so many people in the right? And how did they make it racial?
I don't know one person on any network who looked at this and said, here you have a white man killing a black man. They said, here you have a police officer, representative of order,
black Somalians,
stopping a mass murder from continuing.
So was it Black Lives Matter fault? You guys always seem to blame Black Lives Matter, and Black Lives Matter is any black person you choose to make Black Lives Matter. So
right, okay, I'm missing the thread of your argument.
Group justice is more important than individual justice. This is what you keep hearing, I'm sure, from some of your teachers about social justice. Social justice is garbage and crap. Social justice is a bunch of nonsense. And the reason I say this is because social justice inherently, the term social justice means not individual justice. In other words, what you do personally doesn't matter if you are part of a group. If you are part of a bigger group, your group identity trumps who you are as an individual. Right? There must be social justice. So the fact that in the United States, black people have been put upon in the United States, and there's been a tremendous and undeniable history of racism in the United States, that means that an individual black person has to be treated differently than an individual white person under the dictates of social justice. This is nonsense. In fact, it's racism. Because the fact is individuals should be treated as individuals regardless of race. As soon as you start saying that people ought to be treated by group as opposed to by individual status, you end up in the realm of injustice. Damn! The fact is that anytime you end up with a situation where you say that somebody ought to pay the price for what their group has done, you've got a problem on your hands. As soon as you insist that some people not be punished for their actions because they are of a certain race, or that certain people be punished more harshly because they are of a certain race, you have entered the realm of injustice. Social justice insists on this. Social justice insists that because we have to make the playing field, not the playing field, make the metal stand even, that means that if you're a member of a group that doesn't have a great history of earning, then that means that one group that does have a better history of earning has to be their money has to be taken away from them and handed to a different group. Because it's easier to achieve equality on a group level than it is on an individual level. So people tend to think in terms of groups on the left. And this is really dangerous, and it's really horrible. And it ends with more racism, not less.